Hello, it's Lion here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing an anime review. Today we're going to be looking at Mobile Suit Gundam, The Witch from Mercury, which is the latest in the Gundam series. I'm not sure where it actually places in the timeline or the universe, although from the limited amount of information I know about Gundam, because I've only seen the first Gundam movie, I've read 2 volumes of Thunderbolt, I've read Gundam The Origin, and I've seen quite a few videos about it. I don't think that The Witch from Mercury is connected to any other timeline. I think it's its own thing, but I could be wrong. It could potentially function as a prequel to Universal Century, but I don't think that's correct. So I do think that it is its own thing. So, yeah, Gundam Witch from Mercury, directed by Hiroshi Kobayashi and Ryo Ando, written by Ichiro Okuchi, and the studio is Sunrise, and you can watch it on Crunchyroll, which is where I watched it. The one kind of negative, I think, is that it doesn't have dubbing yet, and I think that's just because Gundam isn't that popular in the West, and so they didn't really feel the need to dub it yet, which I'm kind of upset about. I think it would have been really, really nice to be able to watch it dubbed. However, I watched it in sub, and I quite liked it. And I really enjoyed my time with it. So, yeah, this series has 2 parts. It has a single episode prologue, and then a 12-episode season. And this is only the first half of the season. It is supposed to have 2 cores. However, I've seen some websites listed as season 1, and the second part, the second core that's going to come, is supposed to be season 2. I don't know what's the correct version. But in general, I mean, you understand there's a prologue and then there's 12 episodes to make up this portion that you can watch right now. So that's all there is to that. Now, the prologue sets up the world. It provides this understanding. It says Gund is a system or a thing, a kind of neural link kind of system that is an emerging technology. And because it is an emerging technology and it needs backing, it is being used on military devices and then going to be used for non-military purposes later. However, the problem is that this technology is actually being used and it's killing pilots as it's being developed. And so this is problematic, right? And so the company that is in charge of this is being shut down by this mega corporation coalition called the Benerit Group or the Belerit Group. I don't remember the correct name for it, but it is this giant group of a bunch of different companies and a bunch of companies that relate to those other companies that all end up basically making machinery, technology, and of course mobile suits. This first episode ends with a battle. Then the season actually happens 21 years later, which actually kind of fucks with the chronology of things, because you don't know what happened to the original characters from the prologue, unless the prologue is supposed to be not canon or there's a larger mystery. It makes the situation feel like it's a bit timey-wimey and confusing, right? It's 21 years later, and this character shows up. Her name is Suletta Mercury, and she transfers from Mercury, where she was homeschooled by her mother, Lady Prospera. She transfers to Astacassia Institute as a student pilot for a mobile suit that she brought with her. The mobile suit is called the Ariel, and secretly it is a Gundam, and so this is problematic because after the events of the prologue, Gundams are outlawed. And there is this system called the Cathedra agreement that stops people from being able to develop any technology that is related to Gundams. And so Suletta has a secret Gundam, and this is problematic, right? So, yeah, when she's there, actually, as soon as she arrives near the vicinity of the school, she meets Mirioni Rembrandt. And honestly, I want to call her Mirion, but the way that it's said in Japanese, the E at the end is pronounced, so it's Mirioni. or something like that, I guess. And she actually ends up getting roped into the school politics, which actually revolve around this young lady, Mirion, right? So basically, this girl is the daughter of the leader of the Minaret group, and his name is Delling Rembrandt. And the school, and the Astacasia school, is set up by this group. And so all of the people that attend it are people that are either sponsored by all of the companies in the Minaret group or are the children of the leaders of the group, right? So Mioren is actually kind of the prize for the holder. And the holder is this person that is the person that wins the most duels at this school. And it's actually not really the case. It's actually the person that currently holds the title. The title was originally won by the person that had the most wins, but anyone can challenge that person at any time. And if they lose, that new person that beat them gets to be the holder. And so for a long time, this guy called Gil Jeturk held this title. And so he was supposed to be Mirion's groom. Suletta shows up. She saves Mirion from foiled escape plan, and then gets roped into fighting Gil for Mirion's hand. She wins because her Gundam is significantly better than his Delanza, which actually is a very cool mobile suit. I actually really like it. And so now she has to defend her title, deal with the consequences of becoming the holder, and dealing with the consequences of being associated with Mioren, right? So this system of politics that it happens in the school is a microcosm of the politics that happen in the actual Minaret group. And so she happens to attract the attention of people outside of school that are, of course, then able to figure out that her mobile suit is a Gundam. And so she ends up embroiled in real life politics. Eventually stuff happens and kind of a solution appears in the middle of the season, about episode 6 or 7. And then the story changes a little bit. And I'm only really talking about the main storyline, which is the story that happens during the school segment of the story. All of the stuff that surrounds it is very important, but it is mostly kind of secondary. It deals with the repercussions of what they're doing, not necessarily what is happening at school. And so Suletta and Mioren and a bunch of other characters end up having to interact and deal with these situations. And well, you kind of get this kind of magic school setting and school like life situation thing that is really, really cool. Of course, this is not really a magic school. This is more of a sci-fi school, but the kind of system applies, right? It is similar to Harry Potter or Reign of the Seven Spellblades or Wednesday or any of these other high school setting genre fiction things where you have a cast of spunky and interesting characters and they're all living their lives as if they're living this very dangerous situation. And, well, it has repercussions outside of them. And it's really enjoyable. I really, really liked it. There's also a bunch of subplots. So there's the politics around the Gundam and Gund technology. There's this connection between Elnora, who we kind of learn is the actual name of Suletta's mom, but it doesn't really add up because in the prologue, Elnora is the kind of adoptive, to an extent, daughter of the old lady that ran the company Oct Earth, which was the company that developed the gun technology. And then she ends up having to escape with her daughter Eric, who looks exactly like Suletta, but should be about 30 years old, if the timeline is correct. So Suletta cannot be this kid, but they clearly look the same. So there's some, concerning stuff happening there that doesn't really get explained at all. There is a plot point that might lead to an explanation because there's this thing called enhanced persons. And I guess that this is like the version of whatever the special people in the other Gundam stuff are called. What are they? Like the mutants or what are they called? I don't remember exactly what the term is. But, the people that in the original Gundam kind of system were like enhanced humans, people that had like specific genetics that allowed them to have like Esper powers. I think enhanced persons are the equivalent or the version that is for this series. And these people are actually created or used to pilot Gundams and develop Gundam technology, but they're actually like people that have been restructured or reformed to look like someone else. So they're body doubles, right? And it's possible that Soletta is a body double and doesn't know it of Erich, and that could work. Or she's a clone, or some other situation. And then there's also the issue that Gundam Ariel is probably just the Lefrith, the original Lefrith that Elnora and Eric originally escaped in, but modified, so it doesn't look like that anymore. But the Lefrith actually shows up in later parts of the story as two different Gundams with specific adjustments to them. So there's also that connection there. Then there's Gule's interest in Soletta that doesn't really ever go anywhere. After the second episode, she beats his ass so hard that he falls in love with her. And, it doesn't go anywhere. Although his storyline is actually really, really interesting. Especially the ending, the last part of his storyline in this first season was very, very good. There's also a problem with Elaine's situation and his connection with Peel Tech, which is actually the plot point about the enhanced people. Then there's the Grassley and Nika connection. That one doesn't really make too much sense, and I'm not really sure how it happened. But Nika also has connections to the Dawn of the Fold group, which are basically remnants of Oct-Earth that ended up on the planet Earth instead of going elsewhere. There's also this racial situation between Earthians and Spacians, which I don't like the terminology for, but I think generally it makes sense. It's Earthers or Terrans versus Spacers, kind of similar to a lot of other kind of science fiction, hard science fiction, near science fiction type stories, like The Expanse or something like that. However, the terminology, I don't like it. However, it still makes sense because it's like saying Italian or Romanian. It is a denotion of nationality or origin, I guess. And it seems to be that the Earthians are basically people that were poor, that were left behind on Earth when the Earth got so overpopulated and polluted that the rich people managed to escape onto space, and then they became Spacians. However, because humans are not built to live in microgravity, situations occurred, and so the Gund technology was supposed to be a way to remove those issues, but because of the situation with the Gundams, it was not able to be finished, right? Eventually, during the storyline, we do kind of see a resurgence of this technology and kind of an interesting kind of situation here. There's also an assassination plotline that eventually does culminate in something happening at the end of the story. And overall, there's a lot of interesting stuff here. It does have the space opera core to it. However, it is tempered by that kind of like high school magic setting or like high school like learning kind of aspect that kind of comes with this story. And I really liked it. I thought it was really, really good. Like I said, I'm not the most versed in Gundam. I have a very large interest in it. I just have not really gotten around to consuming a lot of it because a lot of the older stuff in Gundam is just like hard to watch. It's not really enjoyable. It's pretty badly paced. And honestly, Amuro, I don't know how to say his name. He bothers me. He annoys the shit out of me because he's just like screaming all the time. So I haven't really enjoyed watching too much of the original stuff. But there's a lot of other things that I want to get into, and I love Gunpla, so my knowledge base is pretty minimal. But based on that knowledge base, I can tell that there's a lot of new and interesting things that are being tried in this series, and I think it was a great thing that they did that. And it works really, really well. This whole universe, this whole kind of like timeline could become very, very meaningful and could stretch for a long time. I mean, you can definitely kind of see the trajectory of this story from going where it is now to basically 30 years in the future, and you can make a lot of anime seasons of that and kind of make Witch from Mercury kind of its own thing, and you can introduce witches from other places and stuff like that, and you can kind of have this whole solar system spanning situation, which would be really, really cool. And you can actually get into the more kind of military sci-fi, modern space opera kind of stuff that you can see in stuff like like expands, right? So yeah, that's also another thing that I really enjoyed here. I think that there was a lot of different things that you can see and pull from other genre fiction that you can reflect here, and that's really, really enjoyable. So there's the space opera thing. I think the most kind of exemplary version of space opera is probably Star Wars. It's the one that most people are familiar with, but this doesn't really feel like Star Wars. It feels more like Dune, or a little bit more kind of like that sort of stuff. There's a very clear main focus. It's not a very generic kind of good versus evil. It's a lot more nuanced, and there's a lot of groups of people. There's also things that relate to Dune, like there's this group of crazy old ladies that everyone thinks are witches. That's kind of similar to Dune because there's the Bene Gesserit, and even the Benedict group kind of sounds like that. So there's that. There's also this kind of like chosen one aspect here with Suletta or Eric, depending on what you're talking about. In the prologue, it seems like Eric is kind of a chosen one because she's the only one that can interface with the Lefrith correctly. And Suletta also has this ability to interface with Gundam Ariel very easily without any drawbacks like all of the other people. So you can say that there's this kind of chosen one aspect there that is kind of more similar to Star Wars, but also very similar to Dune. There's also that kind of like magical setting that, like I said, is very common in a lot of things, not just Harry Potter, but Harry Potter is like the most kind of clear and easy example for everyone to understand. And there's just generally very, very many things that are very enjoyable here. I kind of felt like a little bit like Oban Star Racer a little bit. I felt like, well, like a lot of things, I really can't remember anymore because I was thinking about this earlier today and then I didn't write it down. So I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's a lot of things here that you can see reflected, or that you can see reflected here from other, sci-fi and genre medium. And I think that's really, really cool. Now let's get into kind of more just general details that I liked, right? So character design wise, I like all the characters. I think all of their names are stupid. I mean, Shadiq and Suletta are fine. Everyone else's names are all pretty bad. Nuno, I think, is fine too. Nika is also okay. But most everyone else, I don't like their names. I don't know why the names are like this. I don't know if it's Japan not knowing how to write Western names, or if it's that they're trying to make it seem like this is kind of far enough in the future that names have changed, because that is a thing that happens. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I never understood that aspect in general about like Japanese media, where they just have like Western names, but they're clearly not correct Western names. They don't like make any sense. But in terms of this system, I can understand how it would happen if you're trying to be like realistic about the sci-fi element. Language does have to change enough over time, and the easiest way to demonstrate that is by having names be slightly different than they were in our time period, right? So I understand that aspect. I still think that a lot of their names are really, really stupid. And they're hard to pronounce, and they're not enjoyable to listen to, right? So it is what it is. But character design-wise, I really love Suletta and Miorin and Nika. I also like Cecilia and Choo-Choo. I love Choo-Choo's design. Her hair is insane and it's ridiculous, and I like it a lot. And whoever decided to give some of the girls this like e-girl blush on their eyes, visionary. That guy deserves a raise, because that kind of little blush on the side of their eyes makes a lot of their expressions and a lot of the way they look just very beautiful and very pretty to look at. And I like that a lot. It's something I don't really like IRL. Like, e-girls don't look good when they have the weird like blush things on the side of their eyeballs. But in an anime setting where it's not really realistic, so you can kind of avoid dealing with the kind of uncanny valley feel of like seeing something in real life, it works really, really well. I think it's very nice on Soletta's skin tone specifically, but it works on Miorin a lot as well. Soletta's design is great. A lot of people seem to think she looks like a tanuki. I'm not really sure if that's true, but she is very cute for sure. I really like her a lot. I like her little hair like band and the ponytail that she has, and how it's like really odd, but it's really pretty. I really like it. I like Miorin. I really like the kind of tsundere characters that aren't actually violent, and I think that Miorin kind of fits in that very well. I like Nika because she has a lot of like kind of interesting stuff going on behind the scenes, and that her connection to Dawn of the Fold is very, very interesting. Sophie is also a cool character. I didn't mention her before, but Sophie is one of the Dawn of the Fold characters, and she's kind of this like yandere type character. I like that a lot. Choo Choo is really, really fun. She's basically a less shitty female version of Bakugo, and I like that a lot. So the female characters, I like the female cast quite a bit. Suletta specifically, I love her. I think she's a great character. She reminds me of Deku a lot from My Hero Academia. She also just has like a really tough life, but she has a wonderful outlook. Her phrase that she keeps repeating to herself doesn't really make sense, but I understand the sentiment of it, so I'm okay with it. But I just love her character a lot. There was one time when I didn't like her that much, and it was during the 11th episode. Most of that episode, she was spent kind of moping. And the reason why she was moping doesn't really work for me, because I feel like she has been someone that has been very clear about asking people like what they think and feel, right? So why would she not confront Miorin about her feelings immediately? And why would she let herself mope around? However, I'm fine with it because the reconciliation that she and Miorin have at the end is wonderful. However, the very last scene of the anime puts it in question so badly, and I don't know how they're gonna make it work, because that is a very visceral reaction to have to what happened, and I definitely understand it. It is it was a very visceral thing that happened, but I don't know how they're one way and then they're gonna have to deal with that, and how they're gonna come back to that original way that they were together. It's gonna be very, very interesting. But I really like Soletta's character a lot, and yeah, her mom is really sus though. Now, moving on to the male characters, I don't really like that many of the male characters. I like Shadiq a lot. I think Ghoul's attitude and character are interesting, and his character arc is great, but his character design is pretty lame. It's very mild. I don't really like his name either, so he's not that interesting. But Shadiq is probably the most interesting of those characters, right? So, yeah, what other male characters are there? I don't really care about Lauda. I don't care about Martin. Nuno is fine, I guess. I like his beanie. I don't know. There really isn't anything else to say about the male characters. This is mostly a female-centric cast, and I think that's cool. But yeah, overall characters are really, really cool. Mechanical design-wise, I really like all of the Gundams, except for the Peel Technologies Gundams, like the Zowart. And well, I think the Zowart is fine, but the Ferret, I don't like it too much. And there's another one, the Gilgur, I think is what it's called, or Gilbur, Burgale, something like that. I don't like those three. I love the Jetter Technologies or Heavy Industries ones. The Delanza, the Drew Blade, the Lanza Soul, Lauda's version as well. There was another one from their company that I liked. The Desulters, I think is what they're called. I like all of them. I like the Lefrith and the Ariel, and all of their versions of them are pretty good. But, they kind of look like the Gundam plus IBO combined into one, and I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, what other suits are there? Well, I like the Demi Trainer. I like Choo Choo specifically. I think that kind of light, like military, like beige color is really, really nice. I like them all. The sound design, the animation, the fluidity of the animation, everything is great. Mostly the story is really compelling to me, and I really like the characters. So yeah, overall, very, very good stuff. If you have not watched the series, I definitely recommend you give it a watch. And yeah, so that's it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. Let me know what your favorite character was. I think for me, it's probably Suletta or Choo Choo. I just really like Choo Choo's character a lot. So yeah, thank you guys very much for watching, and see you guys later.